Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on my website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. We'll get it set up. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your part of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, send me an email to bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. Again, that's 702-257-1060. If you would like a call back, please leave your contact number. I don't record the numbers of incoming calls for your security. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by news media. I always select a few for my listeners' information. Most are good shootings, some not so good, but they're all educational for those of you that keep a defensive firearm at home or carry one out in public. Individual incidents are adjudicated generally under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun-savvy defense attorney is always recommended. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation by me from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents are as reported with the names of the participants deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. As is my habit now with all of this turmoil in the political arena, first up, another firearm regulation update. This one is here in Nevada. The Las Vegas Sun reports April 9, 2021, a journalist by the name of Ricardo Torres Cortez, a bill in the legislature, AB 286, would outlaw ghost guns. Those are the firearms that are often built at home and don't have a serial number, unless the person is a licensed gun importer or manufacturer. The first offense would be punishable as a gross misdemeanor, while a second would become a felony. Now it's going to become a felony in Nevada to make your own gun at home for your own use. That's a sudden reach. Furthermore, the bill would criminalize the act of entering a business while armed where no guns are allowed. Business operators would be required to place signs that are 8 inches by 11.5 inches in every entrance. An amendment would exempt on-duty police officers. Do you understand what that just said? Nobody can carry a gun into anywhere where it says no guns allowed except on-duty officers. So off-duty officer, anyway, we'll get into that. Assemblyman Philip O'Neill, a Republican from Northern Nevada, noted that lawmakers weren't allowed much time to look at the amendments. He said he appreciates parts of the proposal. However, O'Neill believes there is no way that we should be conducting business on such an important bill, such a serious bill, that is, at the end of the day, a Second Amendment right can be lost due to part of this bill. Assemblyman Jim Wheeler, a Republican of Minden, seconded his colleagues. He said, I understand on deadline day, things move quickly. They have deadlines in the legislature where they have to get it out, by this time, this date. But for a bill this important, I think the public should be engaged, which of course isn't happening here with the quickness of what's going on. Committee Chair, Assemblyman Steve Yeager, he's a Democrat from here in Las Vegas, denied his motion. He simply said, we are going to consider the bill now. No reading it, it's just going to be voted on now. Comments here, another firearms rights bill is being forced through our legislature by the majority Democrats without debate or even consideration of Republicans' opinions. This will apparently eliminate off-duty police officers, concealed firearm permit holders, and security officers from carrying firearms on public or private property. As the Democrats control the Nevada Assembly, along with the Senate and the governor's office, they can pretty much do whatever they want with citizens' rights to protest, to protect their homes, property, and families. Home invasions, carjackings, and other violent crime rates are skyrocketing. The requirements will include, of this bill, enhanced background checks, as well as some unspecified mental health screening. Citizens will certainly remember this action in the next election, especially those who will have been disarmed and hence robbed, raped, or beaten with no means of defending themselves. Most coroners will be listing the manner of death as by order of the Democratic Party. Second story, today at the federal level, the Democrats held a press briefing to announce their new plan to stack the Supreme Court with 4 new justices to be appointed now. They believe the Supreme Court is a right-wing rubber stamp and therefore add 4 new judges today. Fox News reports a group of Democrats Thursday formally launched a legislative effort to pack the Supreme Court by adding 4 new justices in a move that was hailed by progressive activists but quickly met with fierce GOP opposition and skepticism by the Democratic leadership. Senators Ed Markey, he is a Democrat out of Massachusetts, along with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jared Nadler, Democrat from New York, Judiciary Committee members Mondaire Jones, a Democrat of New York, and Hank Johnson, a Democrat of Georgia, stood outside the Supreme Court Thursday to announce their new legislation to expand the High Court from 9 to 13 justices. Markey said, "We're here today because the United States Supreme Court is broken, flanked by the Democratic lawmakers and activists. It is out of balance. It needs to be fixed. Expanding the Supreme Court rights the wrongs of the Republicans have done to this great court. Expanding the Supreme Court is equal justice and will ensure equal justice is dispensed to all Americans." The Democrats said the far right has hijacked the court thanks to the norm-breaking moves by the Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell, and expanding the number of justices is necessary to restore balance and integrity to the highest court in America. Comments here, this action by the Democrat majority will allow the newly balanced court to approve the confiscation of legally possessed firearms, starting with so-called assault weapons, rarely used in actual crimes, as well as handguns, more often the choice of criminals given their concealability. The definition of assault weapons includes any semi-automatic which has a single feature of accepting a detachable magazine, has a threaded barrel, has a flash hider. The flash hiders obviously often are mistaken for silencers by the left side experts. If it has a collapsible stock, etc. The list goes on and on. Handguns will be limited to 6 or perhaps 10 shots. Reality is, of course, that criminals do not obey these regulations anyway. They are by definition criminals, a person who does not obey the law. Duh. Every House of Representatives seat is up for election in a year and a half, as well as a few Senate seats and some governor's offices, like here in my home state of Nevada. On gun issues alone, I foresee a huge change in the control of America. I will stay in my lane here and not mention job losses, foreclosures, loss of value of savings, etc. We change all this by voting and supporting, by funding and working for conservative candidates at all levels of government. Get involved and help so we can vote them out of office, because this is our shot. With all of these things going wrong, this is our shot to do something that really matters. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can check it out. Here's a little commercial about that. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. Here's the book. It looks just like this. You can read the whole thing in about 2 hours. It's less than 100 pages, and it will save you, hopefully, a lot of money if you ever get involved in pointing your gun or shooting somebody. If you have the rules, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, get it. It will help. This next story comes from WKYT Wave 3, Wave 3 TV it's called, April 6, 2021, just a few days ago. In Lexington, Kentucky, Lexington police report a woman called 911 around 3:30 in the early morning. She said she shot at a man who was breaking into her apartment in the 500 block of Hollow Creek Road, just off Russell Cave. About 15 minutes later, a man walked into a hospital with a gunshot wound. There's a connection. Police say that 42-year-old was the same man involved in the incident at the apartment. The 42-year-old was arrested on charges of burglary and terroristic threats. He has since been released from the hospital and is being held in the Fayette County Detention Center. Comments here. This is a pretty short little story, but it's another armed woman is able to save herself by being ready for trouble. Recent firearm sales have increased dramatically, particularly among women. The important issue here is to practice so you don't fumble under stress, and learn when deadly force is appropriate by watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin. And then you have it solved. We're going to break here for a short word from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. Okay, we are back. Third story. This is from WSAZ News Channel 3. Reports April 12, 2021 in Lincoln County, West Virginia. West Virginia State Police say a man tried to break down someone's door Monday morning in the local community of Alcol, A-L-K-O-L, Alcol, I assume. The 28-year-old would-be intruder came face to face with a homeowner who was armed with a gun and ready to defend his house. As most people are in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, the troopers in Lincoln County say the 28-year-old was wide awake, naked, and breaking into someone's home. A neighbor commented to the media, "Yeah, I'm shocked. I don't know why the 28-year-old would have been at his door, pounding on his door at 2 in the morning, but there he was." The perp picked the wrong house. It's on Bulger Road. Troopers said the homeowner, who is in his 60s, grabbed a gun and opened fire, hitting the naked suspect in the shoulder as he tried to break down the door. The neighbor said he is familiar with both the 28-year-old and the homeowner. They both seem to be very good people. He doesn't know why the 28-year-old would do this. He added, "It's not something where it's a crime-infested area." The 28-year-old was taken to the hospital and is in stable condition, at least as of last report. Troopers say no charges will be brought against the homeowner, and so far, no charges have been filed against the intruder. He was taken to the hospital, and as of this report, as I mentioned, is in stable condition. The state police are asking questions and investigating. Comments here. Most everybody seems normal until they aren't. Given our tough times with COVID dangers and being trapped by lockdowns, everybody seems to be more on edge. This will hopefully be over soon, and our regular life will be restored and we'll return to a more normal state. In the meantime, stay armed and stay alert. There are a lot of wackos out there that are just running amok. You have to expect problems and be ready. Story number 4. This is from WSMV TV reports in Lebanon, Tennessee. Police have identified 2 women shot and killed in the Stonebridge subdivision of Lebanon on Monday morning. The Lebanon police said a 31-year-old lived with her 60-year-old mother in the 1400 block of Whispering Oaks Drive in Lebanon. Police say the 36-year-old reportedly broke into the woman's home on Monday morning. Police say the 36-year-old was armed with a shotgun at the time. According to court documents, the 31-year-old had filed for divorce in Davidson County Circuit Court on March 4, citing irreconcilable differences. The 36-year-old, that's the shooter here, was arrested a week later by Metro Police on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and false imprisonment. He was released on bond March 11. Court documents showed that 31-year-old had an order of protection hearing set for March 22nd that was delayed until April 19th at the request of the 36-year-old shooter. Lebanon officers said the shooting was not random and was domestic related. The 36-year-old shooter and the victims were reportedly going through court battles, and an order of protection may have been filed in the past against him. During the incident, police said one of the victims fired back at the guy. The 2 women who were killed reportedly called 911 while the shooting was happening. Police started a manhunt on Monday morning for the 36-year-old. During the manhunt, Metro Police told Bellevue residents that to stay inside their homes. Lebanon police urged the Stonebridge subdivision to go on lockdown. Metro Nashville also locked down schools in the area. Police found the 36-year-old shooter's vehicle in Metro Nashville area, and although through the use of a rental car GPS, an officer drove up to the SUV, which had Florida plates, on the side of Harpeth Knoll Road in Bellevue. Metro Police say they believe the 36-year-old had lived in the Beach Bend Drive, died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Metro say the SUV would be processed, but investigators found 1 gun inside the vehicle. Police say this shooting was targeted, but News 4 talked with people who live in the quiet neighborhood who said on Monday they were still afraid. Comments here is it's a tragedy all the way around. Protective orders often keep abusers away, but of course not always. When this murder asked for a delay, the court granted it as courts normally will. The women were armed and apparently tried to be prepared. The best laid plans of police, the court, and the victims here simply didn't work. The solution might have been an armed security guard, reinforced doors and windows. Sometimes there are just no good solutions. This tragedy is just struck me. There's nothing can be done about it, and sometimes no matter what you go through, it's not going to be right in the end. You're just stuck with the results. This week we're a little delayed and so forth because of all this stuff going on the federal level that I started to outline. Apparently we're going to have a huge move to change the Supreme Court, and it's going to go through. So advice is, again, vote, help conservative candidates run for office. If you can't send them money, do some labor, get your friends to vote, do everything you can, and in a year and a half, this will all be over. That being said, I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and we're on numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. When watching any media, please click on subscribe so the new shows can be sent to your phone or computer automatically each week. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books, mostly hats and shirts, are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of other firearms and even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. They do provide transportation. You can contact them at info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you so much for watching Fired Up. In these troubled times, I really appreciate people tuning in. I appreciate all your comments and so forth that I'm getting on the internet now. We'll get through this, folks. Stay safe. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com.